Tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14, police ask for new leads surrounding the disappearance of a woman 30 years ago.
Medflight sees more and further calls as the pandemic continues to hit the four-state area. I'm Zach Dodge with the story.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Obby. 30 years have passed since a woman disappeared from the Galena, Kansas nightclub where she worked. Carol Sullins was 18 years old. She was last seen at the nightclub on August 31st, 1991. Back in 2002, Donald Kidwell pled guilty to battery and interference with law enforcement for his role in Sullins' disappearance. Another suspect has since died. But still, much of the case remains a mystery. A $30,000 reward is being offered for information that leads to the discovery of Sullins' remains. Cherokee County Sheriff David Grove says the anniversary opens new wounds for a family desperately seeking answers.
Every day is difficult, but today is an especially difficult day for the family. And as each year goes by, hope diminishes, but they still have hope that they'll be able to lay their loved one to rest in a proper burial place.
Anyone with information should contact the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. Nick Kelly joining us now with the first look at the forecast. Another mild evening. Nick?
Yeah, and thankful that we got a little more rain than we were expecting with the rounds of rain and storms for today, Jordan. As far as temperatures go, certainly held temperatures out. We only made it into the upper 80s today, 88 degrees after we started at 68 this morning. So where did the rain come from? If you remember last night, we were tracking storms out in Nebraska and South Dakota. Instead of hiking along I-70, those storms took a dive through here. That's what brought the rain today, but I don't see anything out there right now. But I'm not going to rule out a few isolated thunderstorms with the emphasis on the Missouri side as we go through the overnight. But as far as temperatures, Jordan, most of us are in the mid to upper 70s. We'll drop back to about 69 again tonight, and we'll see if these rain chances stick around even for the holiday weekend coming up here in a bit.
All right, Nick Kelly, thank you. Monoclonal antibody treatment is now available in Southwest Missouri, also Northeast Oklahoma. Pharmacy company Express RX says their locations in Joplin, Webb City, Carthage, and Miami are offering this free treatment by injection. FDA-approved monoclonal antibody therapy is a way of treating COVID-19 and hopefully preventing severe illness and hospitalization. However, health officials say it's important to receive the therapy as soon as you notice COVID-19 symptoms. Express RX says patients interested in their therapy need to first get a prescription from their doctor. Make sure that prescription calls for monoclonal injection, not just an IV. Think of this as a shot versus an IV. The injection is free, even for people without health insurance. You can visit expressrx.net for more information. Last month, we told you about the stress ambulance crews are under as call volumes and transport distances increase with the Delta variant hitting the region. That problem isn't exclusive to the ground. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on what Medflight is seeing and how their workers are impacted.
After 7.5 years, you might think the wonder of being in a helicopter every day would start to wear off.
Sometimes the coolness wears off at the wee hours of the morning, but it's still pretty good the next time you come on shift.
And it's a good thing flight nurse Nate Van Winkle still finds his job cool, since he's been spending more and more time in the chopper.
We've got about a 25% uptick in transports.
Overall transports for Medflight have increased, up by 40% in the first quarter of the year. And while that increase isn't caused just by COVID patients, the pandemic is causing another issue.
We're doing transports into different cities than we ever have in 20 years.
On average, flight times have increased by 44 minutes because they can't find open beds at closer hospitals.
We have to do some pre-planning as far as how much oxygen we're carrying, making sure we have enough medical supplies for the extra distance that we're going. We have to make sure we have extra fuel on board to make sure that we can make it to that particular destination.
And even after figuring all of that out, nurses like Van Winkle then have to care for patients in a stressful situation for longer amounts of time.
And so we keep a watchful eye out on each individual person that's in the helicopter, making sure that we're not getting too fatigued. It definitely makes for a little bit longer days.
I'm not sure there's an end in sight. It would be nice to see this slow down.
I mean, we get in this business to be busy and to take care of people, so it's never any good when people are really, really sick, but happy that we're here to help them take care of them.
In Joplin, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Over the last couple of months, crews from Med Flights have done transports to Tulsa, Kansas City, Wichita, also Oklahoma City. Jasper County Health Department reports 6 more COVID-19 related deaths, bringing the county's total to 196 deaths. The residents who passed included 4 males, 1 in his 70s, 3 in their 60s, also 2 females in their 60s. Well, the feds are making another big push for vaccinations as the news surge accelerates, overwhelming hospitals and healthcare providers. Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith has more now from Washington.
America's battle with coronavirus is intensifying, with the U.S. now averaging close to 159,000 new cases daily. As the White House doubles down on its efforts to increase vaccinations, both the CDC and FDA have signed off on Pfizer's vaccine, and it appears vaccination rates are rising slightly. But some healthcare systems are also overwhelmed. Some states, including Georgia and Oregon, even mobilizing National Guard troops to help hospitals get through the surge.
It feels good to see that I'm helping make a difference versus just kind of feeling helpless and seeing my community around me, not doing so great.
Public health officials are also scrambling to keep schools safe as they reopen, but at least 8 states are banning widespread mask mandates. In Florida, where cases are surging, officials are withholding funds from 2 school districts requiring masks in classrooms.
Ultimately, we're just trying to stand with the parents. A lot of parents, they know their kid in terms of the health.
Meantime, the White House says it's considering banning unvaccinated European travelers from coming to the U.S. This after the European Union recommended unvaccinated Americans be blocked from visiting.
I call on everyone who can to get vaccinated. This is the only way to protect yourself and the others.
And it's not just Europe. The State Department is now recommending Americans reconsider travel to Canada. The department going as far as to issue a Level 3 travel advisory. In Washington, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
President Biden addressed the nation today, delivering a speech at the White House on Afghanistan. Fox News correspondent Griff Jenks is at the State Department with more on his remarks. Also, the formal end of America's longest war.
It was time to end this war.
President Biden worked to defend his decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Afghanistan one day after the last soldier departed Kabul ahead of the August 31st deadline.
This decision about Afghanistan is not just about Afghanistan. It's about ending an era of major military operations to remake other countries. I take responsibility for the decision.
The president addressing criticism that 200 or fewer Americans still remain, despite executing the largest airlift in U.S. history, evacuating more than 123,000 over the past few weeks.
For those remaining Americans, there is no deadline. We remain committed to get them out if they want to come out.
But the end of America's longest war came with a cost, marked by recent violence and deadly attacks, including the death of 13 service members.
We owe them and their families a debt of gratitude we can never repay, but we should never, ever, ever forget.
On Capitol Hill, critics of the president's exit strategy demanded answers and accountability as images emerged showing Taliban militants with abandoned U.S. military hardware.
There's still no plan to account for what has happened to these weapons.
Now is the time for leadership in Congress, and we will lead.
The U.S. Embassy in Kabul also ended its operations in Afghanistan and urged remaining Americans to keep a low profile. At the State Department, Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
William Bell is a veteran and recovering tonight from a broken hip. We wish him all the best. Before this accident, though, he was invited to a special event that his family still attended today. The family visited Pittsburgh Airport to check out a World War II era plane. Bell's son signed his father's name to the plane's rudder right there. These dream flights, as they're called, have been going on for a while now and give veterans a chance to enjoy a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Our main focus is World War II veterans and honoring them with dream flights. Typically, we fly veterans that are in assisted care facilities all over the country. We've been doing this for 10 years.
Again, Mr. Bell, we wish you a quick recovery. Thank you for your service. Bell served in the U.S. Marine Corps. After his military service, he worked as a Baptist minister and a school teacher. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Melford Weeks served in the U.S. Army from 1942 to 46. We are proud to thank and salute Sergeant Melford Weeks, native of Carthage, Missouri, tonight's four-state hero. Nick Kelly's up next with a complete look at the forecast a bit later. The Chinook Blue Comets have high expectations entering the fall football season. Gonna hear from the team in sports.
We certainly had an interesting Tuesday across the region. Let's just dive right in and see what on earth happened throughout the course of the day. It looked pretty calm throughout the time lapse of Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri. But after we had a good start to the morning, you could definitely see the ominous clouds that were quick to roll on through, at least quick according to our time lapse. That was actually a complex of rain and storms that came on through, and it kind of helped us out with temperatures today. We were expecting to go back into the lower 90s, kind of like yesterday, but after we dropped to 69, we hit 85 at 11. Dipped into the 70s in Joplin during the early afternoon, then a quick rebound to 88 for our afternoon highs for today. Now that complex of storms, believe it or not, the same complex of storms that developed last night across South Dakota and Nebraska. But Mother Nature, you know, always has the final say of how things go around here. So instead of those storms working east toward I-70 in Columbia and St. Louis, they dove right through here, leaving behind a scattering of rainfall, about 1/10 of an inch on average across the region. But the heavier pockets, like our past bouts of rainfall, range between 1/2 an inch to almost 2 inches of rainfall. Now, earlier this evening, we were keeping a close eye on the radar, even though it didn't look like much was going to erupt with mostly clear skies. But on the tail end of that complex of storms, I was hoping the radar would still show a little bit of evidence of that. You can see that very thin line there. That was an outflow boundary from those storms that it left behind. Sometimes it can lead to additional development of showers and storms, but that has not materialized. So we're looking okay right now at 9:14 on this Tuesday night. Same goes for the view from 7th and Rangeline. We're at 76 in Joplin, a calm breeze. Dew point not too terrible. It's right around 70 right now. Most of us are in the mid 70s to about 80 degrees. Feels like lower 80s in a few spots, with the humidity still up there. But we'll see some of that humidity in place for the overnight try to result in a few more isolated storms. But it wasn't from the complex of storms this morning and afternoon, and certainly not from the remnants of Ida. That's going to be just a big rainmaker for parts of New England. We still have our frontal boundary part to the north. In addition to that, northwest flow of the jet stream right on top of the region. So a weak wave or two will try to come on by during the overnight. And as a result, you can see a couple of showers, maybe a couple of storms for a few spots in the morning. Otherwise, we'll drop back near 70 across much of the region. And those slim rain chances, I think they're done once we hit the afternoon. So we'll have a dry day to at least savor. But the more sunshine that we'll see during the day will result in us going back into the 90s. 69 in the morning, 85 by noon. Well, highs topping out around 91. I'm not going to rule out a few isolated storms again on Thursday, but mainly most of us will be dry as that upper ridge tries to build in. But doesn't want to be quite too strong as we start the holiday weekend out. As the jet stream sticks nearby and the frontal boundary too, we have to watch for scattered storms Friday and Saturday. So it may not be the ideal start to the holiday weekend with scattered storms for Friday and Saturday, but we dry up for Sunday and Monday, but that's when some of the heat really tries to kick back in. At least we'll be near 91 for the next few days, Jordan. Near 90 for much of the holiday weekend, but 93, but at least we'll be dry on Labor Day proper.
Many of us saw, that storm, and it wasn't too strong, but it was still packing a little bit of punch there.
It's like you definitely noticed the wind before the rain came on down, but thankfully nothing severe.
Definitely. All right, Nick Kelly, we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you so much. Coming up, what Ida left behind.
More than 1 million customers are still without power in Mississippi and Louisiana tonight in the wake of Hurricane Ida. I'm Caroline Shively in Crown Point, Louisiana. I'll have details coming up.
U.S. home prices continue to set records, going up for a third straight month. According to the National Case-Shiller Price Index, home prices went up 18.6% annually in June. This is up from 16.8% in May. This is reportedly the largest annual gain in the history of the index. Home prices nationally are now 41% higher than they were last peak during the 2006 housing boom. Analysts say the high prices are due to limited supply, also high demand. However, they warn competition may start to slow down as more inventory hits the market. The death toll from Hurricane Ida rises to at least 4 as search and rescue operations ramp up along the Gulf Coast. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively has more.
As the death toll from Ida rises, people are finding out they may have to wait weeks for power. More than 1 million people in Louisiana are without power, including much of the city of New Orleans. It could be days until power companies are able to determine the extent of the damage to the grid. Utility crews from as far away as Virginia have arrived to work with electrical companies in some of the hardest hit areas. Relief efforts will be difficult, with temperatures forecast to be in the low to mid 90s over the next few days.
Now is really the most dangerous time, but I am mindful that we just had the strongest hurricane, at least tied for the strongest.
New details are coming in following a highway collapse in George County, Mississippi. Officials believe the roadway crumbled from heavy rainfall associated with Storm Ida. At least 2 people are dead and several others were injured.
It's nothing that I've ever seen. Like I said before, over the last 24 hours, there's been a lot of rainfall in this area.
A half dozen federal agencies are on the ground to help with search and recovery. At least 5,000 National Guard members have also been deployed in parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. FEMA says additional assistance will arrive in the coming days.
Many of you don't have communications right now. We are also going to be bringing in teams that will be walking around your neighborhoods.
Ida could cause flash flooding and spin-off tornadoes as it tracks through the mid-Atlantic. In Crown Point, Louisiana, I'm Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Next, going to hear the reasons why this year's flu season could be extra rough. Vaccine for HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, by Johnson & Johnson did not provide protection against the virus. The company reporting today they will end this mid-stage study that involved young women in sub-Saharan Africa. Researchers will now continue a separate late-stage trial involving a different composition of the vaccine in men and transgender people. The drug maker says that study is being conducted in Europe and the Americas, where different strains of HIV are circulating. The United States experienced record low flu cases. Health officials say it was because of health protocols in place because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But what does the easing of protocols mean for the upcoming flu season? As Fox's Catherine Hawley in Florida tells us, some experts say it's just too early to tell what's going to happen.
Small changes in behavior can make a huge impact. We've seen that firsthand over the last 18 months of the pandemic.
Because people were social distancing and masking in public in order to minimize the spread of COVID, it had a dramatic effect on decreasing the spread of the flu and other respiratory viruses.
The seasonal winter surge of influenza cases plummeted to a record low. Yet when restrictions relaxed and masks started coming off over the summer, respiratory viruses exploded out of season.
It allowed a little open window for these viruses to come in and spread like wildfire in our kids.
That's the reason some experts think we could be headed for a difficult flu season. The CDC says the lack of exposure to the virus could make us more vulnerable, resulting in an early and possibly severe season, especially if folks aren't masking up or socially distancing. But it's really too early to say for sure.
I don't think it would be valid at this time to try to predict exactly what's going to happen, because so much depends upon what happens between now and December with regard to human behavior.
Rolling up your sleeve for the flu shot is the best way to protect yourself. Officials urge everyone to get the vaccine by the end of October before cases generally start to spike. Washing your hands frequently and wearing a face covering in public will also help stop the spread.
This is not the time for you to take a risk with catching the flu and getting sick enough to end up in the hospital when hospitals are already overloaded with COVID patients, because you might not get the care that you need.
Catherine Hawley, Fox 13 News.
Turns out scientists say some mental aspects of life actually get better with age. Gonna learn more. Here's some specifics when we come back. A new study says those over 50 show some key brain skills can improve over time and could affect future research on the elderly. Researchers over at Georgetown University, the neuroscience department there, say some mental skills in those over 50 actually improve with age. The scientists studied hundreds of older people and found that 2 key brain functions, attending new information and focusing on what's important, can improve with age. The stages studied were called alerting, orienting, and executive inhibition, meaning shutting out unnecessary information. Researchers say the results can affect how we study the mind, aging, and even Alzheimer's. The results were published in the journal Nature Human Behavior. Focusing on what's important. I was reading that during the break. Isn't that something good to have? focusing on what's important. Yeah, 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. Reaction to a new report listing Missouri as nearly the last in the nation for vaccinated nursing home workers. Also going to check out some fun events already happening before Little Balkans Days. Only 2 states rank worst than Missouri when it comes to vaccinations for nursing home employees. KOAM's Bronte Sorosky tells us how a Joplin nursing home's vaccination rates compare with the states and how they've tried to boost their staff vaccination numbers.
Around 82% of nursing home residents in Missouri have been vaccinated, compared to nursing home staff, where currently only 48% have been vaccinated. Those state numbers mirror local nursing home vaccine rates.
It's about what the state and national one is. It's at about 47% of our staff that are vaccinated.
Residents at the Joplin Health and Rehabilitation Center remain around 77% vaccinated, still close to state numbers. Larry Bergner with the Newton County Health Department stresses the importance of nursing home workers being vaccinated.
A lot of the healthcare workers and nursing home employees have lower vaccination rates than some other employers, but we would certainly also want those folks who are directly working with the elderly, the immunocompromised, those who are sick. We want those people especially to get vaccinated so that they don't put themselves or others at risk.
To boost these vaccine rates, the federal government announced they will require nursing home staff to be vaccinated to continue receiving Medicare and Medicaid funding.
So I think we will be seeing more mandated vaccinations from some employers, just out of fear that perhaps federal money may be withheld at some point in time.
With this potential mandate, the nursing home says they'll continue different methods of vaccine incentives, but hope to work with federal agencies to come up with rules that everyone can embrace.
Again, continue to encourage vaccinations, but yes, we're hoping for vaccinations, or we're hoping for some exceptions, some ways that we can get around that, because it's just kind of hard to believe that we would turn away 50% of the people in the past 18 months have been considered heroes and just turn them out into other industries.
In Newton County, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Unvaccinated staff at the Joplin Health and Rehab Center are tested twice a week, and administration based that amount of testing on the county's positivity rate. Crowder College's Board of Trustees announces it started its search for a new president and is asking the public for input. Tomorrow, the college is going to host public forums to help the board better understand what residents are looking for in a new president. The forums are at 9 and 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. at the Wright Conference Center. Little Balkans Days officially begins on Friday in Pittsburgh, but the Miners Hall Museum in Franklin, Kansas kicked off the events early. Little Balkans Days celebrates the history and culture of the Pittsburgh area. The museum tonight hosted tours of the newly renovated Miners House. Awesome music right there, I'm hearing. There's also some food and fun, including live accordion music and old-fashioned croquet and bocce. The bleeding on the nation's balance sheet is expected to decline this year. The Biden administration is predicting this year's budget deficit is going to be $555 billion less than its May estimate. That's thanks to the economy recovering quicker than forecasted. Even with the improved projection, the deficit is still expected to top $3 trillion this year, which should be the second largest in history. Well, a single glass of wine or other alcohol can immediately and substantially increase a person's risk of atrial fibrillation. That's according to researchers at UC San Francisco, who followed 100 patients with a heart rhythm condition who drank at least one drink a month. Of the 56 patients who experienced an AFib episode, they found it was almost twice as likely those patients drank alcohol in the 4 hours before the episode. More evacuations go into effect as the Caldor fire threatens mountain towns surrounding Lake Tahoe. Fire officials fear weather conditions could further fuel the flames this week. Fox News correspondent Matt Finn has more.
Flames raced toward Lake Tahoe on Tuesday as the Caldor fire continued to burn. The massive blaze rapidly expanding on Monday, forcing the entire resort town of South Lake Tahoe to evacuate. Thousands of residents and tourists stopped in gridlock traffic as they tried to flee. the fire's speed catching many off guard.
It was just traffic jammed. I have no idea. It was everybody who just left at once. It was like the last minute.
If there was ever a fire around here, it's going to be bad. And sure enough, it's not good right now.
The Caldor fire burned more than 290 square miles and destroyed hundreds of structures. Dead trees and dangerously dry conditions fuel the flames, and fire managers fear the situation could get worse with extreme heat and strong winds in the forecast. The conditions prompting red flag warnings through Wednesday.
If it hits the homes, it could spread here easily. Some just, as you can see over there, we got sprinklers going there.
More than 15,000 firefighters are battling flames across California, but resources are stretched thin with dozens of fires burning throughout the state. Over the weekend, some crews traveled to Louisiana to help with Hurricane Ida, further straining resources.
It's been trying both physically and mentally the last, couple weeks. Folks are trying to keep, morale high and keep the spirits high.
And here in California, all of the national forests will now be closed until mid-September to try to prevent any more fires. In Los Angeles, Matt Finn, Fox News.
A bit later, a visit to Detroit, where animals there are getting COVID-19 vaccines.
We always say that Mother Nature has a final say in how our weather setup goes every single day, and that certainly rang true today. I will say, Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, we started it out with plenty of nice open blue skies, but notice how the clouds really darkened late this morning through the afternoon hours. That's because the same complex of storms that we were tracking out of South Dakota and Nebraska last night, originally we were anticipating that to stay along the I-70 corridor and head toward Columbia and eventually St. Louis, but it decided to take a sharp turn south and pass right on through the region, thankfully weakening as it did, so we didn't have to worry about anything too strong or severe in terms of the thunderstorms, but it did leave behind some additional rainfall for some of you that have been asking for more. 1/10 of an inch on average across most of the region, but the heavier pockets of rain resulted in a couple of spots certainly picking up anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inches of rainfall. And behind its departure, we did have a weak outflow boundary skirting our very far southern counties around Grand Lake. Sometimes they can lead to additional development in terms of rain or storms, but that has not materialized this evening, so we've been keeping the radar pretty quiet all evening long so far. And certainly the skies the 7th and range line in Joplin looking quiet as well. 76 degrees feels like, well, 76, thankfully, because dew point isn't quite terribly high. But temperatures across the region are still warm, with most of us in the middle to upper 70s, but a few spots the humidity is making it feel like we're in the lower 80s still. But everyone will drop back to about 69 tonight, pardon me, while we keep an eye on the overall setup. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about any remnants of Ida. That's going to be a big rainmaker, in fact, a flooding threat for parts of New England. But for us, we have a stationary front park to the north, a cold front that will come into play as we get the holiday weekend started, and we still have the northwesterly flow aloft in the jet as this upper ridge tries to build back in. How is this all going to come together over the next few days? Let's break it down for you right now. Upstairs, a weak wave is going to come riding along the jet. That could allow for some random isolated showers or storms for a few spots to start the morning out, but you can see how everyone will start mild, right around 70 degrees to start the morning out. Any slight rain chances we have during the day, they're gone once we get the afternoon underway, so we'll look at a calm afternoon with more in the way of sunshine. We'll say partly sunny skies at least. 69 in the morning, 85 by noon, but we do have to send highs back near 91 for tomorrow afternoon. I think we're quiet to start the overnight hours out and heading into Thursday morning, but then we could see some random isolated storms again for Thursday as highs climb back into the lower 90s. And again, this upper ridge is trying its best to build back in, but that trailing cold front out west and the jet stream upstairs, it's going to try to give us some scattered thunderstorms for Friday and Saturday. It's not the ideal start to the holiday weekend, but once we hit Sunday and Labor Day proper, we'll clear the rain chances out, but we'll have to heat back up once the rain chances skedaddle. Let's say 91 tomorrow and Thursday, 90 on Friday, upper 80s for Saturday and Sunday. But again, Jordan, 93 for Monday, a hot Labor Day, but we'll keep things dry for the unofficial end of summer.
Yeah, it's that time already.
Pretty much.
Nick Kelly, thank you. Coming up in sports, the Chinook Blue Comets are just 3 days away from their season opener. Going to hear from the Comets. Also, Pitt State and Moso prepare for their first MIAA conference game since 2019. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Game week is finally here for both the Pittsburgh State Gorillas and Missouri Southern Lions. On Thursday, both teams will hit the field in their openers, playing in their first MIAA conference game since 2019. Pitt State is on the road in week 1, facing Central Missouri on Thursday. That's a big one for the Gorillas, facing a Central team that finished second in the league in 2019 and is ranked number 13 in the nation in the AFCA preseason poll. That's a nice early season test for a Pittsburgh State team that's picked to finish 7th in the MIAA by the league's coaches.
We got picked 7th in the conference in the coaches poll. That's more of what we're looking at right now, using that as motivation. The rankings other than that don't really matter to us. Every day we wake up and see that we got ranked number 7. And so that's kind of what's been driving us this past few weeks. Right now we're just focused on what we can control, and if they happen to be ranked what they're ranked, then so be it. But we're looking forward to that test.
It's definitely a motivating factor. If other coaches look at us as an average team, we got some stuff to prove. So we're definitely going to try and go out and make a statement with this game. But as Caden said, we can only control what we can control. So if we go out there and don't perform well, that's on us. And maybe they were right, but yeah, we have people to prove wrong, but we also have people to prove right here in our own community that are rooting for us.
Missouri Southern also on the road for their opener on Thursday. The Lions make the long trip to Nebraska-Kearney in week 1. UNK has been a team on the rise for a while, increasing their win total every year from going winless in 2015 to going 7-5 in 2019. That's not the same Lopers team we've seen in the past, but the same can be said for this Southern team beginning a new era under head coach Atiba Bradley.
This is a different Missouri Southern team from in the past. In the past, older guys might not be as bought in, but with this the younger guys, they're excited. They come from winning high school programs. They know what to do. They know what a winning program looks like. So we're always working in the right direction right now.
The Chanute Blue Comets are just 3 days away from their season opener. Chanute hits the road on Friday to kick off the season against the Circle Thunderbirds. 2020 was an up-and-down year for the Blue Comets. They finished 3-4 last year after going 9-2 and making an appearance in the state quarterfinals back in 2019. The high expectations are back, though, for Chanute, with a talented group of skill guys, plenty of experience, and a nice senior class.
Expectations are really high this year. We think this could be a great team. The 2019 season we felt similar, and last year we had high expectations too. And the season didn't go quite as planned with injuries and COVID. But yeah, the sky's the limit for this group. They can be special, and it's just going to take them coming together and becoming a team to make that happen.
Major League Baseball tonight, the Kansas City Royals at home for their series opener against Cleveland. Kansas City has won 10 of 14 coming into the night. This one, though, bottom in the 8th. Royals haven't scored yet. Cleveland leads at 7-0. Kansas City has managed just 3 hits on the night. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Cases continue in humans. Officials at the Detroit Zoo taking precautions to ensure some susceptible animals are protected against the virus. Reporter April Morton has more.
A recent study by veterinarians across the country shows lions, tigers, gorillas, and chimpanzees are among a group of animals more susceptible to COVID-19. Therefore, starting this week, the Detroit Zoo is starting to vaccinate those animals.
We've vaccinated 20 animals at the Detroit Zoo against COVID-19, and we're looking forward to vaccinating 20 plus more in the next week or so.
Dr. Ann Duncan, who cares for animals here at the zoo, says it's fortunate no animals have tested positive for COVID-19 here, but they have at other zoos in the country. And a tiger and lion died from the virus at zoos in Europe and India. In addition to vaccinating, they are taking other safety precautions to protect the animals from the virus.
We've been keeping our distance from the animals, trying to maintain a distance of at least 6 feet. Also, for the most susceptible animals, we've been wearing N95 masks.
The animals not receiving the same vaccine as humans. The Kalamazoo, Michigan company that's providing shots applied decades of experience into developing the vaccine.
Veterinary pharmaceutical company Zoetis has been working to try to develop a vaccine specific for use in zoo animals and have been going through the testing and approval process through the USDA and state veterinarians so that we can put the vaccine into use.
Dr. Duncan says otters and the zoo's wolverine will also be vaccinated against COVID.
Next, gonna check out a special Master Chef challenge happening this week. It's a chef table team challenge this week on Fox's Master Chef, and several legends joining in this time to help those home cooks in the competition. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorak with a preview.
This is the season of legends.
MasterChef Wednesday serves up 2 hours full of legends, judging home cooks split into teams, competing for a spot in the semifinals.
They were very stressed. They were very passionate about what they were doing.
It's a different perspective being in that kitchen.
It was 2 rooms separated, like with a pretty thick partition. So we're enjoying ourselves on one hand, just having wine and chatting, and then you occasionally hear some yelling on the other side. But when I watched the episode, I was like, wow, this is really intense.
And it was fun dining offset too.
We went out to dinner afterwards. It was fun.
Why is there a clock under here?
Val and Jonathan and Sherry.
Do it! These experts look for key aspects in a dish.
If things are seasoned right, execution and something that's well seasoned.
Taste and flavor. You know, it can look as pretty as you want it to, but if it doesn't taste good, if it's not balanced, if they put some superfluous ingredient in the dish, it doesn't make a difference or matter, then it's not worth it.
What is a good piece of advice that you would give them no matter how far they get in the competition?
I always say, make it a continuous learning process, and you can learn from dining out, you can learn from watching the shows, from reading cookbooks, just build on and always write down, take notes.
And they enjoy encouraging home cooks as they start their careers.
Cooking obviously can be a frustrating thing whenever you crash and burn or make something that's no good, but it's important to just get up and try again.
It's a mystery box with a twist.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorak, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Going to leave you with video of 2 panda cubs at the Berlin Zoo celebrating their 2nd birthdays. Isn't that cute? A little picnic together. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.